Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Breaking Bad. Last time on Breaking Bad, we had Felina, the final episode of the series, where Walt made it back to Albuquerque, and he did not take a wrong left turn there. And he basically went to Gretchen and Elliot and was like, yo, you're going to give my son this money. And they were like, no. And he's like, yes. And then he had hitmen. But then, unbeknownst to them, the hitmen were actually just Pete and Badger. So, yeah, it was funny, but it got the point across at least. And then he did some other stuff, went to Skylar to say goodbye, gave her the coordinates to where Hank and Gomez were buried, and then he went off to save Jesse from Todd and Jack. Killed pretty much all of them, but actually got caught in his own crossfire. And while Jesse escaped and ran off into the night in an El Camino, Walt was fatally injured and actually ended up dying there. So yeah, that was the end of the series, which is kind of weird to do that. It's kind of weird to do a recap for a final episode, but that's kind of where we are. Because today we are watching El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie from 2019. So yes, now I've known about this pretty much since it came out, that this is the sequel movie to Breaking Bad. I'm going to severely doubt it has any Walter White because he's just dead. So I did notice when I was editing that the car that Jesse got into was an El Camino, so presumably this is about Jesse Pinkman after Breaking Bad. So yeah, this is going to run like a normal movie reaction. I'm actually going to try to have the footage on this video this time around. I know towards the last season of Breaking Bad, I would take the footage out and put it in a highlight. I'm going to try to keep the footage in here this time, here in the video, so you don't have to click on anything else. But yeah, so we are just going to watch it. It's going to be about a 15-minute reaction, and then we will obviously have our discussion. Like all movie reactions, the full length is in the description in the pinned comment, so if you're a full-length patron over at my Patreon page, you can watch the full-length version of this movie reaction. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than, pretty much knowing Jesse Pinkman's going to be in this, which is great. I love Jesse Pinkman. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know anything else. I don't know if we're going to have any of the rest of the White family or Saul. I don't know. I only pretty much know Jesse, so that's basically that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Here we go.
Only you can decide what's best for you, Jesse. Not him, not me. I'm out.
Mike. I was not expecting him.
Where'd you go? Hear me?
Alaska.
Nah.
Yeah?
That's why he chose Alaska.
Why were your age starting fresh?
Put things right. No. Sorry, kid. That's the one thing you can never do.
Oh. That was a good cut. He is outie. Oh, those are the cops coming the other way to get Walt. Man, alright. Pick up right where we left off, basically. Just with what happened with Jesse. Wow!
Dude, you suck.
Okay.
Things like defective and shit.
Oh my god, they brought... I didn't expect any of this.
Dude, you lost?
Nah. Look at him.
Jesse?
That's him. Yeah, he looks a lot worse for wears.
Get that car off the street.
I'm not prepared at this time to say any more than that they're a person of interest and they may have information relevant to this case or other cases the DEA is investigating.
They're still looking for Jesse. Ugh. He still sees it. You're not there anymore.
Jesse, you're safe.
Ooh.
It's us.
Ooh, he's really been screwed up. Ooh. When do you think the last time he took a real shower? I guess that was the last time he took a shower. How about a bath? Maybe a bath would be better. Man, you really don't think about how long he was in there, you know?
First, I gotta get rid of that car.
Hey. Man, so many things that... I don't know why I didn't think things would return.
Alright, mind at ease. Think we're good. Whoa.
What? What did he find?
Company just activated. Just this minute.
Oh.
Training.
No.
Look, Johnny Law is on his way.
They're tracking the car.
Now, so
Badger drives my T-Bird 200-300 miles away and ditches it. Think you'll be heading to Mexico?
No, not Mexico.
Right on, even better. Leave it near the border. Hide it, kinda, but yo, don't hide it so good the cops can't find it.
Okay.
Wipe it down for prints, then hitchhike back.
Guys, I don't know what to say.
Don't say nothing. Just vote.
Alright, so Badger's taking Pete's car to the border. And I guess that's, you know, they'll think, oh, Jesse took that car and left. But Jesse's taking Badger's car and heading out.
This might keep you from getting spotted. Can't hurt, right?
He looks so different without that hat.
You're skinny. Why are you doing all this?
Dude, you're my hero and shit.
Oh. There they go. That's a lot of cars just for Jesse Pinkman. It keeps going. That was like a funeral. Like a funeral procession. And they're all headed for Pete. I wonder if we're gonna see any of them. Yeesh. You know what? That would become scary. Huh. Yeah, that's him. It's a little strange because he is... They're all a little bit older, you know?
Tried to, escape. I'm gonna have to visit the little boy. It'll basically be out of my hands at that point. Uncle Jack made you that promise, and he's gonna want to stick to it.
So this is after Andrea was killed.
Good behavior.
Okay, well, let's both go sideways for a while.
What is this? Oh, it's a back. A back to the El Camino.
Reasoning of a Houston woman are looking into her possible connection to Walter White's criminal organization. The unnamed woman, who is hospitalized in critical condition, is not expected to survive.
Lydia.
White, the former Albuquerque schoolteacher who was the subject of a 6-month international manhunt, was found dead late Tuesday at the scene of a gang massacre which claimed the lives of 9 people.
Oh, yeah. So it was 6 months between Hank's death and the final episode, then.
I don't feel much like talking about it, so... Give me a hand, Jesse.
You just murdered your cleaning lady?
Gonna need this.
The belt? What the fuck? Why? I just, like,
Little book encyclopedias, the whole entire set. A to Z.
Oh, she
Granny
found
gave
it?
to me. But she found it and I can't have anybody finding it. She
Killed
brought
her.
it straight in here to show me. I wonder what the heck she was looking up. She barely spoke any English.
Maybe it just fell.
Am from Mexico, maybe? I don't know.
Just like how he shot Drew Sharp.
Take her. Someplace pretty. She deserves that.
You know what she doesn't deserve, you fuck? Dying.
Straight down the hole.
Drew Sharp's tarantula. See, here's the thing. We know he's not going to die in this movie, but we at least have the satisfaction of knowing he's dead. He died in the last episode. Well, Jesse can go back and get all that money, can't... Hey... Damn.
Actually, I think I know the perfect spot.
Does he have
might take a
grenade,
little
salt, and
engineering.
pepper shakers? That's actually cool, and I want those. Those are his parents, aren't they?
For your sake, for everybody's sake. Son, turn yourself in.
This is the thing. He's the last one. He's the last remnant of everything that has happened over the year. I get 2 years.
You want to say a few words?
Do you not want to? No.
On the way home, I was gonna get us some pizza. A couple large pies. Maybe a 6-pack of beer.
This sucks because you know it won't work. He probably thinks he wouldn't be able to get away. Eventually Jack would find out and come for him. Or kill the kid. Oh, man. Well, that was a nice apartment he had. Jeez Louise. Son of a bitch. He put it like within the door. Oh, that's actually a little clever.
Hey, Lieutenant.
He said Lieutenant, not Neil. Yeah, he said Lieutenant, not Neil. He knows.
They hear shooting. What do you think they're gonna do?
Oh, they're coming up. They're coming up, guaranteed.
That's right. They're coming up.
They're
How far
bluffing.
do you think you're gonna get?
Hey, how about some handcuffs, yo?
They're not cops. Oh!
I know where the money is! I don't get this money. I am dead anyway. But if you pull that trigger, you are gonna have to kill that loudmouth down the hall and every other witness in the place. And you will be as fucked as I am. So, what's it gonna be?
Ugh. I like smart Jesse. He's been around this for long enough. He knows exactly when someone would pull the trigger and when they wouldn't.
I was wondering when you were gonna remember me.
I don't remember that. Oh, he's looking for the guy, isn't he? Yeah, he is.
Come on, man, you know why I'm here.
I can't say I do, no.
Yeah, you do. You're the guy. Yeah, you do. You're the guy.
I don't think he's that guy anymore.
You owe me for that first pickup.
Yes! Oh, you're the guy! Wait, what?
This would require an additional
Additional
125.
Which he doesn't have.
This is not an inconsequential amount of money.
Hey, listen to me.
Spend it wisely, it will last you for years.
Please, you understand.
Keep a low profile, travel by night.
Yeah, he's not taking him.
A little luck. Shoot. My name is Ed Galbraith. I own Best Quality Vacuum, 2714 4th Street, Northwest. That's correct.
He's gotta leave now.
Would appreciate it very.
First question they're gonna ask is, what am I doing here trying to hand over a hefty bag full of cash to a dude who runs a vacuum cleaner store? What comes out then? Huh?
Jesse's getting clever.
You don't just hang up on a 911 call. They won't let you, because the lady or dude or whoever is like, stand in line with me, sir. They'd call you back immediately. But hey, guess what? Seriously, yo. Pathetic.
Cops are here.
Wow, I love that response time. Take your money.
Take the money.
Deal's the deal. Your word is your bond.
It is.
I'll get you your money.
How, man?
Do you think you guys could come get me, maybe?
Oh.
Well, you did your best.
Aww.
And whatever happened with me, it's on me. Okay?
Huh. They have a gun. They have 2 guns. Well, now you have 2 guns, at least. Oh, okay. I get you now. So he got guns from his parents, not money, and he's going with the guns to get the rest of the money, the rest of Todd's money. Okay, I get you. Bit convoluted, but alright. I guess it makes sense that Jesse's parents wouldn't just have money, you know, like in a safe. Okay. That's what I was starting to think. They welded the thing that kept Jesse in place.
20 minutes, what'd you do?
So he just kept doing that.
All I need is 1,800. I'm asking as a favor.
Oh, what, like charity? Seems to me this silly son of a bitch already forked over. Big time.
Casey, seriously, shut up. Winner takes all.
Like the Wild West?
Yeah. Like the Wild West.
What? Come on.
Just a draw? I mean...
Jesus, Neil. Come on, man.
Jesse has more than one gun. Come on. Oh. You didn't count on his other gun. Ah, terrible shots. Oh! This is the only one he needed. They're dead. Oh. Been a while since Jesse killed anyone.
Dude, you're on fire.
Why are you on fire? Oh, he's blowing the place. Aw, shit. Woo! Jeez Louise! That is quite the explosion. Walt would be impressed. Holy crap. Man, those flashbacks, they just start, man. Oh, the RV, too. And he only has the mustache, so this is back... Season 2, maybe?
Yeah, bitch. What about you, Jesse? After this. What then?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. What about college? No, what is stopping you from going to college? What would you study, you think? Huh? What interests you?
Sports medicine?
Back when he was still dad.
Sports medicine. Or business. Business and marketing.
I mean...
You could practically teach that class.
That's a good point.
What do I need a GED for? I got my diploma.
Oh.
Oh, of course. Yeah, right. Yo, you were standing right on stage when they handed it to me.
That just slipped my mind.
Wow.
I totally graduated high school, dick. Which is like, no thanks
Stay on the subject,
all right?
You're really lucky, you know that. You didn't have to wait your whole life to do something special.
Aw, man. Yep. He got the money. He's off to Alaska. What a great place to stay.
I'm going to Mexico City in about a month. I'll nail it from there. Anyone else you want to say goodbye to?
Alright. So probably send a letter to his parents. Oh, to Brock. That makes more sense. Oh, man. Now you're really fucking tugging at my heartstrings.
I've gone where the universe takes me my whole life. It's better to make those decisions for yourself.
Nah. All right. That's El Camino. Okay, you know what? I know I said the last two episodes were kind of epilogue, and to an extent you could argue they kind of were, but they were obviously a bit more than epilogue, and obviously the plot had to end with that. This is definitely an epilogue, and a very good one. Like, that is exactly... I feel like this is exactly what you need after watching Breaking Bad, you know? With everything that happens in that show, honestly, the perfect way to end it is with Jesse Pinkman riding off just content, you know? Free. Which, we had a bit of that, you know, we technically had that last episode, but really, the final episode, you know, it ends with the death of Walter White, you know? It ends with the death of Walter White, so... I don't know. This is honestly, like... I can't say, like, it's more peaceful. I don't know. Because that's the other thing, too, is that, you know... Obviously, last episode is a good finale. But if you really just want to be like, okay... that I have finished an experience, this is where you come to. El Camino. Man, oh man. And it is very interesting that, you know, this is obviously 2019. I don't know, per se, when the show ended. I think it might be, like, 2012-ish, maybe 2013. At the very least, there was a considerable amount of time between the final episode and this movie. There were a couple years at least. So it is interesting, you know, watching this movie and, you know, the production, even though pretty much all the locations are kind of the same, but, like, you know, the camera quality is a lot different, you know, like, it's shot like a movie, not like a TV show. And Breaking Bad was amazingly well shot, but just something about it, like, this does look newer, you know? So it's very fascinating that this, you know, that this picks up right where Breaking Bad basically leaves off, you know? Like, this picks up right with Jesse's escape, you know? So So it's just so interesting. And then obviously, seeing all the cast come back to these characters, and some of them, they do kind of look a bit older, but at the same time, you look at some of them and you're like, you know what? I still, I can sort of suspend it enough, which is good. I think, I don't know, I guess with some of them, Todd looks a few years older than he did, he looks like, he's kind of bulked up a little bit, Jesse, I will say, I don't know, he got better. Now at the beginning when, him and Mike are talking about, oh, what are you going to do, teenage retiree? And it's okay, obviously Jesse always had that sort of youthful look, but he was probably in his early 20s. So to have that again, it's okay, you kind of sit here is he? I don't think he's a teenager anymore, Mike. So, I don't know. Which, you could also say about Breaking Bad, most of the show takes place in the span of a year. And, Walter Jr., you watch from episode 1 to the beginning of season 5, that boy grew up, That boy grew up. So, but I definitely, I think part of it is the fact that, the camera quality was a lot higher for the movie, that I honestly notice it a bit more. But honestly, pretty much 5 minutes after, especially after Jesse, gets all clean shaven, he honestly just looks like Jesse Pinkman again. So that's at least good. Of course, you could argue that being in that, cement hole may have aged him a bit, Anyway. Okay, this is so good for... It's so good for an epilogue, And it's interesting that they did make this, because this is, years later, and they decided, what, let's show what happened to Jesse Pinkman. Because honestly, Jesse is sort of the last remnant of it all, He's the last remnant of the show, basically, with Saul gone, Walt dead, Gus, Mike, they're dead, the Nazis dead, Lydia dead. Jesse was sort of the last piece from the operation that was still, I guess active, really. So it is interesting that they decided to do this movie, They decided to actually be like, hey, let's bring a bunch of the actors back and let's finish it off, Let's do this one last time, And I can only imagine part of that would also be maybe the popularity of Better Call Saul, Because obviously that... correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's still running, isn't it? I think Better Call Saul is still running. I thought I saw something about the final season, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm pretty sure at the very least it was running, during the time of this movie, So I would imagine they were like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and cap it off, Let's cap off pretty much the second main character of the show, They left it so open-ended, and that's great, but I like that they went back and be like, okay, here is our final, thing. Let's lay the character to rest, basically. So that's good. And obviously I like that it is kind of a happy ending for him, Because I've said this before, Jesse is my favorite character in Breaking Bad. So not only is it amazing having a movie about him, but having, the epilogue to the series basically is about Jesse, and at the end he does have a happy ending. He's off in Alaska, So that is really, really cool, So we can go ahead and hop into the notes on this one. The first thing I wrote down is start fresh, which was interesting, which we can sort of just go back. We had that first off. Yeah, I was not expecting... See, I don't know what I expected from this movie, Okay, I didn't expect it to pick up and show how Jesse basically escaped after Felina, I guess I wasn't expecting that. Maybe I expected, okay, this was made a few years later, and we're picking up with Jesse. I guess maybe I just kind of thought we would just pick up with Jesse a few years later, but that's just not what happened. So right off the bat, we have that scene with Mike, which was really cool. Now, they say, like, oh, well, where would you go? And he says Alaska, and you think, okay, well, this is clearly what gave Jesse the idea to go to Alaska. But the thing is, when Jesse was out, that was season 5, but he said Alaska in season 4 because he was going to leave at the end of season 4, and he went back when he realized the whole thing about the ricin, So, yeah, I don't know unless I'm forgetting. I don't know, because obviously, that's obviously that means that this would have to be before Gus died, So, I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me place that scene, because I'm seeming to forget. Well, I mean, he did have to say he said he's out, and that would lead him to Saul. But I'm trying to fully remember the context of that, So I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out with that in the comments. So, but yeah, it's a little. I'm not exactly remembering the context. Is basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it was good to see Mike again. I mean, hell, we haven't seen him since what was it, episode 7 of season 5. So that was a really good cameo. Honestly, a lot of good cameos in this one. Like, for a movie where it's like, okay, we're picking up years later. It's like, they don't have to do some of these cameos, but they did, and they worked them in well. Not just hey, here's this. It's like, no, let's have a nice scene with Mike. They even work in a nice scene with Walt, So I like that. So yeah, Mike said Alaska, which gave Jesse the idea, which we saw again at the end of season 4, when it's like, oh, can I pick where I go? And Saul was like, well, it's your life. I would imagine you have some say in it. And Jesse chooses Alaska. So, yeah. And then we had, again, just picking up right after the end of the final episode. Jesse escaped. And I love going back to Badger and Skinny Pete, I thought that was very clever, because where else would he go other than the 2 guys he knows he can trust, So I really did like that. That was very clever. And then hiding there. And then I also wrote down the trauma, which, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to say it's not shown well enough, but I mean, you kind of overlook almost how long Jesse was a prisoner, basically. You don't even think about it. And when you think about the guys that he was with, Todd and Jack and that whole gang, you honestly think, that probably did suck. That was probably, torture. And especially after the death of Andrea, after she was killed. So that's the thing, That's the thing. So you kind of don't even think about it. I guess maybe that's because, because you don't see it too much. Obviously, yes, you do see when Andrea dies and how that takes it takes a toll on him, So there's already that. But the fact is that those final 2 episodes are mainly focused on Walt and how he's been, coping those last few months, in that cabin. So because it's mainly on Walt, you honestly don't think about it. So when Jesse takes a shower and then he sort of flashes back to when they would hose him down, there was probably a lot of trauma in there. I guess maybe also part of it is because, most of it with Jesse, you see him trying to escape. He was able to get out of that cage, He was able to get out of that cage, and then you really don't see him too much after the death of Andrea. You just see him, he's chained there, and, his hair's longer, his beard's grown out. and then you see him when Walt takes them down at the end. But that's the thing, you really don't see too much of it. So I like that they really highlighted it here. Just the trauma that he went through for, I think they said about 6 months between pretty much everything that went down with Walt and Hank, and then the ending, basically, where Walt died. So, yeah, so I like that they do highlight the trauma for Jesse, We had the whole thing of swapping the cars, which was clever. For a movie called El Camino, I honestly thought he would keep that El Camino, but it does make sense, a bit more. Which, I mean, he obviously didn't have an El Camino at the end, So it was a completely different car. But they do show it enough, and especially with him and Todd in the El Camino, especially with the cleaning lady. But it was still an interesting plan of, because they had the tracker on, it's like, okay, well, they already know it's here. Why don't we just leave it here? And then, they basically say, like, oh, Jesse took my car and went to the border, so Badger went down there to make it look like that. Then Jesse actually takes Badger's car and then heads out, which is clever. So I really did like that. And that scene, where they show, Jesse starts to make his way, and then, he pulls over for all the police, and there's so many. Like, can someone count how many police cars, drive by? It's like all of that for Jesse Pinkman, Because, and again, that's the thing. Jesse is the last remnant of it all, It's the last remnant, but they did still think it was him. You would honestly almost think, because Walt died in their lab, you would honestly think that the police would suspect, like, oh, Walt was cooking for them. But no, they did not think that. Well, obviously, because they know basically that it was Walt that killed them all with the gun, So basically that leads them to the conclusion that, okay, they must have had Jesse Pinkman there. So yeah, that was very interesting. But all of that just for Jesse Pinkman, Because he was the last remnant. Because literally the DEA could get no one else. The DEA never got anyone. Can you think about that? Like, they never got Mike or Gus or, technically, they killed Tuco. They didn't get Gale because he died. They didn't get Walt because he died technically. It's like, yeah, Walt died. Heisenberg was stopped. But that wasn't them. The DEA didn't really do that, So, and then they didn't kill those guys. So the last thing from this basically like over 2-year investigation of Heisenberg, the last possible thing that they could get is Jesse Pinkman. And they did not get him. So I liked all the flashbacks to Todd as well. That was very interesting. Again, highlighting more of what Jesse went through in that time, whereas in the show we mainly saw it from Walt's perspective, So that was very interesting, heading over to Todd's place and then finding the cleaning lady, which, geez, I mean, we obviously knew from season 5 that Todd was a piece of work, but still, oh, she found the money. So, it's like she wasn't trying to steal it or anything, but she just found it, so he killed her. Like, are you kidding me, man? And he used Jesse. And the thing is, interesting thing about this, too, is that for Jesse being a prisoner, Todd almost doesn't treat him like a prisoner, Like, he kind of never does. Like, he always just sort of talks to him, like he is actually a friend. Which, I mean, that could be, trying to lure Jesse into, like, a false sense of security almost. Like, he's trying to make it like, hey, look, I'm not like the other guys. Like, you can trust me. Come on, you can help out. Like, if anything, it may be smart what Todd was doing. It's like, hey, man, it doesn't matter. How about you come help me out? You want some soup? But that did not help with, because Jesse saw, the dead cleaning lady. That reminded him, and then going in and seeing Drew Sharp's tarantula, like that all stayed with him. So yeah, that was all very interesting. And yeah, they had to go and bury it, which again, that's why they put the cover on the El Camino so that they could hide the body, which is just so terrible. And then, when they're trying to roll up the body, it's like, oh, wait, unroll. Gotta get my belt back. Like, are you kidding me? Which presumably then, that was like that morning that he killed her, Because, why would he leave just a dead body right there? It's like, presumably, he killed her that morning, and then went and got Jesse, just didn't get his belt back, and then, brought them there. So, it's just ridiculous, man. And then they did the burial. Well, Jesse did the burial, really. He did all the digging, which, as, skinny and malnourished as he was, it's incredible that he did that, but it probably took a while. And then we also had him getting the gun, and that's the thing that's almost unsatisfying about all the scenes with Todd, is that Jesse can't do anything because he doesn't do anything. He won't, because you've seen how those scenes basically resolve. Because you've seen how Todd dies. Now, you can at least have the satisfaction of knowing how Todd died. That Jesse was the one who killed him, Like, that at least is good, but still, it just makes those scenes, like, all the worse, because Jesse can't do anything. Even when Jesse gets a gun, he can't do anything. And so you're sitting here waiting, okay, how's Jesse going to not do it, basically? And then you see. Oh, boy. And yeah, so, he was thinking about the kid, and then after that, when he hands over the gun to Todd, again, Todd not being the more, screw you, you horrible thing, you're my prisoner and stuff. Like, no, he tried to shoot. It's like, all right, it's okay, man, it's okay. Like he tried doing that stuff, and it's like, if anything, Todd may have been the smartest out of that entire gang, because Todd learned how to cook the blue meth, and then he realized, like, oh, hey, we could use Jesse Pinkman, and then he says, like, oh, well, we got to figure out what he said, and then he realizes, oh, well, not even that, but he says that to Jack, but he's probably thinking, I can have this guy cook for me, and then that's how we can get the product to Lydia. Like, if anything, Todd was the smartest out of that entire gang, So, it's just very interesting, whereas everyone else was treating Jesse like crap, Todd did actually, like, psychologically, it was more, I guess, psychological torture than more physical, I guess, but it was still, he was still trying to sort of act like Jesse's friend because he knew that would work out to his favor, So, if anything, this really just shows how friggin' smart Todd is, unfortunately, So, and then we had the whole thing with, trying to get Todd's money, which was clever, and then the not cops, which was very interesting. So, these guys knew Todd, and so they were trying to go get Todd's money, basically, which is interesting. So yeah, that was very interesting, that whole thing, because yeah, at first you think, oh man, he's, these cops are being clever, it's like, oh, Lieutenant, and that's how you warn him that someone's here, and it's like, oh man, these guys are, they're gonna figure out that it's Jesse, but then it's like, oh wait, why aren't they getting handcuffs? Like, oh, because they're not cops. Like, oh, that's very clever, and you think that they're, bluffing about the whole thing of like, oh well, we got 8 other cops downstairs and stuff. They hear a gunfire, they're gonna come up and stuff, But it's just not how it happened. But I did really like. I loved how smart Jesse was in this movie. Which, I mean, we've had that before, and especially with like his cockamamie schemes and stuff like that. But excuse me. But he was definitely very, very smart in this one. So I like that, the whole thing of like, look, I'm taking a third of the money. And they're like, oh, no, you're not. And it's like, yes, I am. I'm taking a third. And if you shoot me, then you're going to have to shoot the guy, you're going to have to shoot Lou, and then you're going to have to shoot everyone else here, and then you're going to be exactly as screwed as I am, Like, that was very, very clever. He knew that he could take that half and get away with it, Oh, man. So that was very, very clever. I just love him being very smart in this one, Like, that was really good. And then we had him going to the vacuum shop. Again, I like that almost, like, because basically no time has passed, So I like, just like, yeah, we're right back to that world. Here's the vacuum guy again. Here's Ed. And I like that whole scene with Jesse trying to convince him and stuff. And it does make sense that he would want the 125 from the failed attempt in season 4, So that was very, very clever. And then, just that whole thing of, calling the cops and stuff like that. I did like, again, it was a moment of Jesse being smart, almost completely smart, but I did like him being like, oh, well, that doesn't work. They wouldn't let you hang up. They'd be like, oh, stay on the line. And then if the cops come here wondering why Jesse Pinkman is here offering you cash, then you're going to be screwed and everything. So you didn't call the cops. And the cops just roll up like, oh, man. It's like, well, it was a clever moment for Jesse, but just not enough. That one didn't work. So I did like that one, though. But then... that whole thing of, like, hey, your word is your word, right? Yes, I will get the money, Like, that was very, very interesting. That, yeah, he would still do the job if Jesse had the money, So that was interesting. And yeah, at first you think that he's gonna get the money from his parents, steal it from there, but he just needed the guns, which was interesting. 2 guns, which is what he needed. But that was very, very clever because, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, he called and it's like, oh, well, come pick me up at the lake and stuff. And obviously the cops are going there too. But again, Jesse is clever. Get them out of the house, get all the cops away, and then just sneak in, get what you need to get. So again, I figured that he was going for, like, that's where he would get the extra 1,800, but he just needed guns, basically. So yeah, and then he went to Candy, which was interesting. So, okay, so I was curious, like, okay, why should I recognize these guys? Like, oh, I'm not really sure. Am I missing something? It's like, oh, okay, it's not, very obvious until you realize, like, oh, okay, they created, the thing that held Jesse in the lab, basically. Like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, that was interesting. And so I just like that whole scene. I like Jesse going in and just being like, look, 1,800 and I leave, And I, honestly, like, you kind of wonder, like, did he think they were gonna, do a Wild West draw, or I don't know. You don't really know, like, okay, what was the plan? Was it just go in and ask and see what happens? I don't know. But it did result in a draw, which Jesse was clever enough because he knew he had 2 guns. So, which you could honestly think maybe that was it, that he was planning, like, look, I'll show them the 22. The 22's not that great, but I do have the other gun, so maybe I could bluff them with that, It's just very interesting. It's not very obvious what Jesse's plan was when he went in there, But that was interesting, using the other gun to kill the guy. And then killing the other guy and then having the other 3 leave. So that was very good. And yeah, the whole thing of getting the driver's license, like, okay, any of you rat me out, I know where you live and I'm coming for you. Like, that was very clever. And yeah, he was off. We did get that cameo by Walt. I like that. Just that whole scene of, like, oh, well, what are you going to do after this, And yeah, it's like, what are you going to do after this? And I like Walt, because again, this is pre-Gus, you know? It's obvious that this is before they met Gus. So I like that whole, you know, scene of just like, oh, well, maybe you could go to college. You know, obviously Walt is still trying to be a dad to him. So I like that. And yeah, it does make sense. Like, oh, you could go into business. Like, that makes sense. Like, why don't you do that? So yeah, who knows? Maybe Jesse will do that. But yeah, but that was a really, really good scene. And a good, like, you know, reveal too, because like you're not really sure, like, okay, what is this? And then out walks Walter White, you know? So I really like that. Just a really good cameo and a good moment between the two of them as well, you know? And yeah, he is now in Alaska. And again, I feel like a very good, like, closing to the story of Breaking Bad. Just seeing Jesse just content heading off in Alaska, you know? Like, that's really, really good. I like that. So, yeah, that's it. That's El Camino. That's Breaking Bad. The entirety of Breaking Bad. So, join us back in 2 weeks where we will start a new show. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Better Call Saul. It might not be, though. I have no idea. At time of recording this, the poll has not started yet. So, but by the time this episode goes up, we will definitely probably already have a winner selected. So yeah, 2 weeks from now, we're going to take a break. There's not going to be any show up next Tuesday. We're going to take a little bit of a breather before we get into the next one. But yeah, could be Better Call Saul, could not be Better Call Saul. If it's not Better Call Saul, then I'll find some time. I'll find time sometime to react to Better Call Saul on my own. We will do it at some point. We'll have to see. But yeah, really, really love this movie. It was really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. And again, I'm going to miss Breaking Bad, just the whole thing. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to miss it. This has been such an experience, you know? 4.5 years we've been doing this. And I'm glad we had this movie as an epilogue, especially because Jesse is my favorite character, and it's nice to see kind of a happy ending, because the final episode was sort of, you know, the last tour of sadness, basically, you know, like seeing Walt, a dying man, just sort of like, all right, this is the last things I can do before I die, you know? So it's nice to see, like, kind of a bit of a happy ending, you know, and for Jesse too, you know. So yeah, that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Breaking Bad / movie reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure to hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.